Hello, Wisconsin, and welcome to this week's edition of the Elite Money Market Update, brought to you by the team of Elite Retirement Group. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm joined in the studio by the founder and CEO, Patrick Marcel, and financial advisor, Victor Kijeski. We're so glad you're joining us today. The title of today's show is How to Detax Your Retirement. Yes, you heard that correctly. We're going to walk you through why you need to pay attention to removing the taxes from your retirement and what that could mean for you. But first, Patrick, Victor, always good to be here with both of you. How are you this week?
Doing great. It's always good to be with you too.
Well, thank you. Well, this is going to be a fun conversation, no doubt, right, Patrick?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's get right into it. So yes, you did hear us correctly. We're talking about detaxing your retirement. We're often told how we need to detox our lives from toxins and from harmful substances. But when it comes to our retirements, this is why we need to pay attention to that tax problem that's looming for a lot of us. You might say most folks are entering retirement with a potential tax hangover, and we're going to share with you today how to detax that retirement. So first of all, let's talk about why is it that most folks are headed into retirement with a potential tax hangover and yet have no idea?
Yeah, well, if we start with the basics, the definition of a hangover is something that remains from the past. So if we relate this to taxes, a good example would be, someone who starts working, and when they start working, they're told to put money into their 401k because over time, that's going to turn into a nice nest egg for you in your retirement, and you get the tax deduction during your working career.
Right.
Well, that's all fine and great, but once you're in retirement, then you have the tax hangover because you haven't been paying any of the tax during your working career.
And so that tax bill has just followed you into retirement, essentially.
Essentially,
right?
100%. And, one thing I like to say, there's a lot of people that have the goal of having like $1 million when they retire. Well, if you have $1 million in your 401k when you retire, you don't really have $1 million, right? Because a large chunk of that is going to go to the government. So in retirement, that's when your tax hangover starts. And that's what we really help folks with is minimizing that tax hangover.
But here's what's interesting. A lot of folks think that it won't be that big of a problem for them because we've been conditioned to believe or been told that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket once you hit retirement. But Patrick, why is that such a misconception?
Well, a lot of times when we plan for folks at our office, we find that they're living on more than they think they are. A lot of times we're not living with a budget or not living within a budget or aware of it. So when we actually go through and we look at the money that we're spending, even though we think we're going to be saving money, we're actually not. We're spending actually a little bit more than we anticipated. So the tax bracket may be somewhat similar, but then we have other things that come into play, like maybe Social Security becomes taxable and you weren't thinking about that. Those IRA distributions, there's a whole bunch of things that play into what taxes you might be responsible for in retirement. And if we're not planning for it, it can be a real mistake.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's dive a little more deeply into some of these additional areas of taxation that compound this problem, if you will, and create this potential tax hangover for a lot of folks. First up, we have to talk about taxes on Social Security. This is really interesting because, of course, that's been in the news as of late, and we know that there is some moves to getting away with that, or removing it, I should say, doing away with those. But as it stands right now, folks' Social Security is being taxed.
100%. I think it's good to plan for the future too. We just don't know what's going to happen in the future, so we have to take what we have right now and make the most of it. So a lot of folks forget that Social Security currently is taxed on a federal level, not on a state level yet. And there's kind of a crazy calculation they use to figure out how much of your Social Security is actually taxed. But to make it kind of simple, basically what you do is you take all of your earned income, whether it's from IRAs, pensions, distributions, you add all that up, let's just say it's $30,000. Then what you do is you also add in half of your Social Security amount. So if your Social Security is $30,000, you're going to add in $15,000. After you add those two numbers together, gives you your provisional income. Then after you have your provisional income, you go to the provisional income brackets and figure out where you fall. So you can end up paying up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxable. And whatever percentage of your Social Security is going to be taxable, it's taxed on a federal income tax bracket. So it's really complicated how they actually tax Social Security, but you do have to plan for your Social Security being taxed in retirement. For now, we'll see what happens in the future, but it is currently taxed depending on how much income you have coming in.
Right, and for a lot of folks, it could be up to 85% of their Social Security benefit. So that's just an added layer of complexity to taxation in retirement. You mentioned, Patrick, required minimum distributions. Explain in a little more depth how this complicates the problem as well.
Yeah, one of the things that sometimes we don't think about or we're not planning for because we want to save, and we don't want to spend, or our assets do better than we expected, they perform better, is that you have a large amount of IRA dollars when you get to the age where you have to take money out. Now, recently they changed the law, so you have to take out money at 73. Some people at 75, it depends upon when you were born, the year of your birth, but it requires you to take money out of that IRA, and it can be a really large amount that can actually cause a whole host of problems. So you can have more taxes on your Social Security. You could potentially have to pay an IRMA tax. So that's hitting where you have too much income and your Medicare Part B premium starts to kick in. So, or you have higher premiums on that. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on when you have that minimum distribution, and we want to try to plan for it so you're not all of a sudden subjected to all this income that maybe you don't even need.
Right. And that's why, again, this misconception of, oh, I'll be in a lower tax bracket. I mean, we've already talked about two big areas of taxation that don't come into play till folks are in retirement. But then we also have investment income. So explain how that contributes to the potential tax hangover as well.
Yeah, we also have to consider that, the taxable income. And when we talk about taxable income, we're really talking about capital gain taxes from brokerage or non-qualified investment accounts. And there's a lot of things to watch. And the main thing you want to keep in mind is owning the correct investments in the correct tax bucket. Because if you have an investment that's throwing off dividends, interest, and capital gains in a non-qualified bucket, it's going to cause your taxes to go up. So a prime example of this was I brought on a client a few years ago, and this client had actually inherited a large non-qualified bucket from their parents. And essentially what happened was we had the COVID year where the market went down. So this client actually lost a bunch of money in this account. And they actually ended up with a tax bill at the end of the year, even though they lost money. And that's because the mutual funds in that non-qualified bucket were throwing off capital gains. So it's something you really have to consider, as well as capital gains, dividends, and interest in non-qualified tax buckets in retirement, because it'll hit you with a surprise tax bill that we didn't account for.
Yeah, for sure. So all this is kind of culminating in one big tax trap, if you will, that folks have to be aware of and pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we do is we try to help our clients by providing them with a way to be able to look at what their potential tax liability could be. So we use something called the tax calculator to do that. So it's elitetaxtest.com. And that's a way you could go put your information into the calculator, and it can really pretty quickly tell you exactly where you might be at tax-wise, what kind of tax burden you could have, and then what can we do to fix that, which I think is most important.
Yes, I know we're going to spend a lot more time in the next segment walking folks through exactly what they're going to see when you go to elitetaxtest.com, but we invite you can go ahead, take your smartphone, visit that site, click on that QR code. But what would you say to someone who is just now kind of realizing, okay, yeah, I'm headed for this potential tax hangover and I probably need some help?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you want to do is reach out to somebody who's a professional. These are things that we deal with on a regular basis. I know when we see folks, a lot of times they haven't even done any tax planning, or their current person isn't somebody who is actually focused on this. Maybe you have somebody who's doing tax preparation and you have somebody who's managing your assets, but you don't have somebody who's really doing a tax plan and working in concert with your investment professional. So that's what we do with the written complimentary plan, is that you call our office and you're able to come on in, visit with us. We provide you with a free written complimentary plan that goes over and talks about what kind of things that we would do if we were you and how to improve your tax situation. So again, all you do is give us a call and take advantage of that. We'll be happy to see you.
Wonderful. Well, Patrick, Victor, thank you so much. I'm excited to continue this conversation with you on how you can detax your retirement. But as Patrick said, we encourage you to reach out. You can start the process today of receiving your very own complimentary written financial plan by calling 833-856-1392. Or if you'd rather connect online, you can simply pull out your smartphone, open up the camera app, just scan that QR code that you see there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Elite Retirement Group will reach out to connect with you and schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to walk you through this process of using the Elite Tax Test bill calculator, tax bill calculator, if you will, elitetaxtest.com. But we're going to walk you through exactly what that looks like for you and set you up for success on how you can begin building a plan to detax your retirement. Stay with us.
I believe truly that there is this non-corporate type of mentality that we have, being fiduciaries, it puts us in a position to say, hey, we're going to put ourselves in your shoes and we're going to give you advice as if it were us and what we would recommend based upon what we know and the experience that we have for 20 years. It's hard to believe. Sometimes that's something that we can help you with. Sometimes you have to go somewhere else, but we're always going to give you the best advice we can. If there was somebody, we were going on the road and there was somebody alongside the highway that was broke down, had a flat tire, whatever, my dad would be like, you need to pull over. We need to see how we can help them. That whole thing where you just do something good for somebody and you don't have to always look for something in return. I'm a big believer in karma. You do the right thing for people, it'll come back around. You know what? Maybe sometimes you'll never even notice that that person had a better day or whatever, but we don't need a pat on the back. Sometimes just doing the right thing is the most important thing.
Hi, it's Matthew Daniels with Elite Retirement Group. Want to see how tax strategies can benefit you? Try our free financial tax bill calculator. Just scan the QR code or visit EliteTaxTest.com to get started. It's quick, easy, and could help save you money. Take control of your financial future today.
Welcome back to the Elite Money Market Update. I'm Kristen Oakley here with both Patrick and Victor from Elite Retirement Group. We are talking today all about how to detax your retirement. And if you're just joining us, in the first segment, we talked a lot about how folks are headed into retirement with a potential tax hangover that a lot of people aren't even aware of. And so now we want to help provide the solutions and put together this detox plan, right? It's that play on those words for how to remove those harmful taxes from your retirement. So again, we invite you to visit this site. It is EliteTaxTest.com. You can actually just go to that website or click on that QR code. And in just a second, we're going to walk you through this process so you can see what those numbers would look like for yourself. But I first want to ask, this is a resource that is completely complimentary to our television viewers, but previously it was only available to existing clients of Elite Retirement Group. Why did you guys feel so strongly that you wanted to make sure that our television viewers had access to it as well?
Well, we just have seen such a huge amount of tax savings that our clients can realize. We want to share that with everybody. Part of what we do at the heart of everything is education. We want you to be more aware and be better prepared for your retirement and not be walking past something that's really, I think, not really hard to do even. And it just can leave a lot of money on the table if you're not even aware of it. And we just find not a lot of people are talking about it.
Yep. And so that's why we need to have the conversation, right?
Well, absolutely. And I think taxes are one of the scariest things to talk about in retirement. Before, when we get people in for visits and we're going through their plan and everything, before I pull up how much they're going to be looking at paying in taxes, I say, you might not even believe me with some of these numbers. So it actually is really scary. So it's definitely something we want to plan for. And that's one big reason why, we're offering that to everybody now, to just get out and make sure everyone's educated.
Right. Well, and the scary thing about it is because a lot of folks don't realize there is a problem and then they can't believe how big those numbers will be. But we want to remove the mystery of this for you. So here's what we're going to invite you to do. Go ahead. We know your smartphone is sitting right there. Pull it out, visit EliteTaxTest.com or scan that QR code, and we're going to walk you through this process of how you can see what these numbers would look like for you. The first thing you're going to see is this landing page that's going to ask you some very basic information. You'll put in your name, your email address that you want the complimentary report sent to, no strings attached. You will put in your current age, as well as how much money you have currently saved up in tax-deferred accounts. For you, that could be something like a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA. You'll notice that there's also two little sliders that you can play around with at the bottom. One is you can adjust the assumed tax liability for yourself, as well as the assumed growth rate on that tax-deferred bucket of money. Then, once you click submit, two things are going to happen. First up, side by side, you're going to see the difference between the government's tax plan for you on the left, if you do nothing, how much you could potentially pay in taxes over your lifetime, versus how much less you could pay in tax there on the right-hand side. But then you're also going to get a 4-page report emailed to you. And this is a screenshot of one page from that report that will show you the breakdown of your numbers side by side. And guys, I know you said folks are often shocked. I'm looking at this example here for this individual. Once you see the difference between those two numbers, you can't unsee that. And you said this, are folks often shocked once they see their own report and see those numbers?
Oh, 100%. And if you look at some of those numbers, I like looking at the total tax bill on the bottom there. But essentially, I like to look at it two ways. So you can either pay voluntary taxes, which is what the government plan is for you, or you can pay your bare minimum mandatory taxes, which is that $330,000 there. But if you don't do any tax planning, you're going to give so much more money to the government than you could even imagine.
Then you're legally required to pay, right?
Yep.
That's mind-blowing, yeah.
100%. And that just doesn't affect you, that affects your beneficiaries as well.
Right.
So, you want to do that tax planning for yourself and your legacy too if you plan on leaving that money behind.
No,
Well, if you do
for
correct
sure.
tax planning, it's going to help you throughout retirement with stability, right? Everything's costing more. So we want to have more assets at our disposal to be able to, float that type of retirement lifestyle you want. And the better we are with our taxes, the more intelligent we are, the more money we're going to have to be able to live and continue to live the retirement lifestyle we want.
Well, and I think with that example that we just showed too, it's mind-blowing to think that, you could pay so much more in tax than what the original balance on the account was, but that's because the money's continuing to grow, right? I mean, there's lots of other factors, but this is why you need to get in front of this potential tax hangover.
Right, absolutely. It's so critical, and I'm stunned sometimes at how little planning or thought process goes into this. And there's a lot of really good folks out there, a lot of wonderful, nice people that are in the financial services arena. So it's not a negative there. It's just we do stuff different. Sometimes people will come in and say, well, how are you different than the XYZ company down the road? And when we start going into the tax planning, and again, we're not accountants, right? But our idea is come up with ideas of how to structure this better. And even now, we're helping clients as well with estate planning as far as how do you properly structure your estate and taxes to make sure we're being as efficient as possible. It's just things that others aren't doing, and we want to be able to bring that because it's a really complete entire picture.
For sure.
Well, I think too, if you're paying someone to be your financial advisor, you have to get value. So, if you're paying someone to manage your accounts and that's all they're doing, you're not getting great value. And you should never have to ask your financial advisor to do planning for you. That's what their job is, right? You're not supposed to bring up questions and concerns. They're supposed to for you. So that's something we do take a lot of pride in. Takes a lot of time, but it's the absolute best thing for our clients. So that's what we have to do.
Well, I know we're about solutions on this show. We're about educating and empowering people and then providing the right solutions. Of course, we can't provide individual recommendations. That can only happen when folks come in and sit down with you and the team and meet with you one-on-one. But just like going through a body detox, if we continue this analogy, requires a structured plan, being able to detax your retirement also involves a structured plan. So I'd love for you to share what are some ways that you're able to help your clients eliminate this tax burden and really mitigate it for them?
Well, I think one of the biggest things we've been doing recently are, we've talked about it on the show before too, Roth conversions. It's a great strategy you can utilize to lower that tax bill. And essentially how those work at our office is at the end of every year, we like to do it towards the end of the year to make sure, we can kind of figure out where our client's income is going to fall. We sit down and we go through elite tax bracketology is what we call it. And basically we figure out if you have room left within certain tax brackets to pull money from those tax deferred accounts out, pay federal and state tax, move it into a tax-free bucket and never worry about taxes again. So that's one of the big strategies we implement. But there is no one solution for everybody. Everybody's different. So just because one individual converts $10,000, the next individual could convert $60,000. It just depends on so many different variables. But one of the big things we really utilize right now are Roth conversions, especially considering that the current tax code are some of the lowest taxes we've ever seen. So it's a great time to do that.
Yeah, we're still in the third lowest tax rates that we've been in the history of our country. So great opportunity to take advantage of that. What are some other solutions that you're able to enact?
Yeah, so one of the things that really comes full circle when we do the complimentary written plan is that we're able to take and look at Roth conversions, but we're also able to look at a lot of different things that feed into retirement, like when you draw Social Security, right? So sometimes delaying. So I had a client recently, we came in, did a review, and we had spent down some of the IRA money because they were living pretty heavily on that, and now we're starting the Social Security checks coming in. His wife was drawing before, and now he's going to start drawing. He's at full retirement age, and she's going to actually get a step up as well. But Social Security is a more tax efficient income as well, because you don't pay any state taxes on it. 85% can be taxable, but not necessarily, right? So it's how we structure that, delaying that, bringing down that IRA. But also we were looking at how does the Affordable Care Act factor in, because these folks did not have the health care from their employer when they retired before 65. And these are all things that figure together, and they come really to fruition underneath that written plan, where we tell you exactly what you need to do to take advantage of these ideas and how to implement them and how we can help you do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, so much goes into this. There's no one size fits all strategy, but I think the takeaway for our viewers is it starts with knowing, and it's so important to see what your numbers could look like and to be aware of the problem so that then you can take steps to help fix it, right?
Yep, absolutely. And that's where, again, like I said, the complimentary written plan is so important. And if you're sitting at home going, you know what, I have somebody I've been working with for years, and that's actually really, really normal. Somebody says, I already have somebody. Great. As we've said all the time, you can't get a second opinion from the person who gave you the first. So all you have to do is give us a call, schedule time to visit us, one of us, myself, Victor, Matthew, Michael, and we'll sit down and we'll develop that plan for you so you can see, you can judge our work based upon what we do for you, and then you decide if you want to work with us.
Wonderful. Patrick, Victor, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call to schedule your meeting to get your complimentary written financial plan is there for you on the bottom of your screen, 833-856-1392, or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. Stay with us. When we come back, I'm going to be asking Patrick and Victor to share some real life success stories of folks they've successfully navigated through this process with to help them detax your retirement. Stay with us.
We were more a product type orientated company where it was, here's the products and here's how you position them. And we felt they were very good products. So, we thought we were doing some really great things for folks. But then we really started to evolve. I went out and got a designation, RICP, which is the Retirement Income Certified Professional designation. And what happened is that I really started focusing on more of the planning aspect. To this day, our goal, our focus for our clients really is bring everything together for them, have one place they can go, whether it's legal or whether it's taxes. We're not attorneys, we're not accountants, but we have resources. Then we help pull everything together for them, really quarterback their plan. But a plan really isn't just created and then look at it and hopefully everything falls in place. It's a living, breathing document. It really does change with retirement because there's things that come up we don't know about. Our health could change, our financial situation could change. We could have a child who's in need that needs money that we have to help them out. It's a guidepost is really what it is. In Wisconsin, we have winter roads sometimes that it's hard to see what lane you're in. But on the side of the roads, on the highway, you have these poles, and they're called delineator poles. And they just basically help you understand, are you on the road or not yet? And really, we're kind of the delineator poles for our clients where we're helping them make sure that they're really on the right path still.
Did you ever think your retirement would be shared with the government? It's true. Your 401k, your IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are in partnership with the IRS. Simply put, they want their tax dollars, and you have them. To see what your tax liability to Uncle Sam could be, scan the QR code or go to EliteTaxTest.com.
Welcome back to the Elite Money Market Update, where today we are discussing how to detax your retirement. If you're just tuning in and joining us, we encourage you to visit this awesome resource. It's completely free for you. We want you to visit EliteTaxTest.com. You can simply visit that website or click on this QR code. It will take you to the landing page, ask you for some basic information, and instantly you're going to be able to see the difference between the government's tax plan for you if you do nothing versus how much less you could pay in tax if you enact some of these tax saving strategies that we've been talking about on today's show. And as we've said already, once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. And I know that our viewers are going to be inspired. I know you have no shortage of stories of folks that you've helped walk through these strategies with to help them detax their retirements. Any stories come to mind that you want to make sure our viewers can, just see these real life examples from what we've been talking about today?
Yeah, so one that actually just recently, I was working with a couple of been clients a long time. And one of the things that was interesting is that they just don't spend a lot of money. They've done a great job saving. They're very frugal. They live definitely well within their means, and they just haven't spent a bunch. So now that he's turning 73 and he has to take his required minimum distribution, he doesn't need all that income. So he said, Patrick, what do I do with this? And what we were doing before is we were taking some money out of an account and we were doing some Roth conversions, but now we have to take out, which is now is more than what the withdrawal was we were taking before. We're taking some of that money and sending it directly to 3 different charities for him. So it's a QCD, or qualified charitable distribution. And the way it works is that you take part of your or all of your required minimum distribution and you can send it directly to a charity. The beautiful thing is it doesn't show up on your taxes in the way that creates any kind of other taxes any other place. So instead of you taking money out of your IRA, paying the taxes on it, hoping to get enough of a write-off, then giving money to charity, right? You can just give the whole amount right to charity. So it's really a win-win. It's a great strategy. And again, another way, and actually we had talked about this, so we knew we were going to do it.
Right.
So it wasn't quite as critical to get that money down into a Roth. But again, it's definitely a great way to help reduce taxes.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just one of many strategies that you all use.
Oh, 100%. You know, I have another recent story too, where I had an individual who's nearing retirement and he's making some good money right now, making over $250,000. But he recently heard on the news that it's a good idea to contribute to your Roth 401k. Well, if you're making $250,000 while you're working and you contribute to your Roth 401k, you're going to pay the taxes right now. So he's going to pay 22, 24% in retirement, and his budget for retirement is only about $60,000. So if he waits to take out, let me back up. So if he were to contribute to his traditional 401k, he would get the tax deduction now, be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, and save a lot more taxes that way. So just because something sounds good doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. So we see situations like that all the time.
Right, and that just proves that there's no one size fits all, as we've said. Really, folks need to be able to come in and sit down, look at your individual numbers and see what could be right for you. So what would you like to leave our viewers with today as we wrap up this discussion of how to detax your retirement?
Well, I'd just say, what do you have to lose to come in, spend a little time with us, right? Get a second opinion. We've been doing this for quite a while now. I've been doing this for well over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of different situations. And I can't tell you how many times somebody's come in and said, I have somebody I've been working with. I don't think there's much you can do for me. We go through and we find them really interesting ways to do things differently that make a significant change. So it just really comes down to taking advantage of getting up, either calling, getting on the website, but reaching out to us, scheduling that complimentary review so we can put together that free written plan.
Wonderful. Patrick, Victor, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, again, that number to call is 833-856-1392. Be educated, be empowered, and most of all, be prepared. We'll see you next time.